Hey folks, it's Mark and Bob with Fireman Outdoors. Hey Bob, what's this orange thing here?
AR500 gong.
That's right, courtesy of Matt over at Steel Horse Customs. You know, a lot of people had questions. Well, what's it going to take to destroy a gong? What can you shoot at it?
I don't know, but you know, we don't want Hillbilly Joe coming over here. We invite him up to shoot at our gongs and end up putting a hole through it with some armor piercing 30-06.
That's right. Hey, guess what? Those gongs cost money, and we don't want to hurt yours, and Matt let us hurt his. So we're going to find out, so you know what we can shoot at an AR500 gong without damaging it.
So let's start big and slow.
You talking about me?
Talking about me. Start out with like a 44 Magnum rifle and build up from there. We'll just keep building it up and amping it up and see what it's going to take to actually dent this or penetrate it.
That's right. You know, I've shot the other gongs that we have a whole bunch of times with all of the pistol rounds. So we're just going to fast forward through all the pistol class, and we're going to go to a 44 Magnum rifle with a little carbine. We'll just eliminate the handgun class, and so we know, hey, all your handguns are covered. So let's go shoot.
Do it.
All right.
Okay.
All right, so Bob's got the 44 mag, and we're gonna whack it.
You ready?
Yep.
Okay, going hot. All right, so we're looking at the gong after shooting it with the 44 Magnum, and looks like it did not do any damage to it. So we're going to progress up from here.
All right, folks, the next thing we're going to do is the 4570. This is Marlin guide gun, 16-inch barrel, and I'm shooting some super hot 405 grain loads that I've loaded to 450 Marlin specs. So we should see some gong movement here. Going hot.
Nice. Hit it again.
I'm going to hit her again.
You knocked the thing over. All right, I'm going to go up and take a look. So let's take a look at this gong after it's been hit with the 4570. And still no damage to it. But as you can see, it had a heck of a swing around on this thing.
All right, so Bob is going to shoot what I think is kind of the pinnacle and the edge of what I'm fairly certain is not going to hurt this gong. He's got regular hunting ammo, lead bullets in a M1 Garand 30-06. Let's shoot it and see what happens.
Bong.
It sent her for a spin, didn't it?
All right. Hit it right here. Feel a little bit of a divot there. All right, it's definitely didn't penetrate it, but we definitely have a real slight impact on it. So,
well, we certainly beat the heck out of that gong, but I don't think we hurt it.
You know, other than the hunting 30-06 round, we weren't really getting any sort of damage to it. The damage from the 30-06 hunting round is very minimal. I wouldn't even really call that damage. I'm just going to call that just regular use.
A mark or a blemish. Right. It definitely didn't leave an impact enough to send brass or lead back to you.
Right.
So I would say that the 30-06, anything up to that with lead bullets, is perfectly safe, folks. But here we've got another thing that we're going to talk about. This is where I think we're going to start putting some damage to it. This would be the penetrator rounds. So what we have first is the M855 Penetrator green tip that we're going to shoot through a 5.56. This stuff we can ascertain by the magnet here. This is steel core. We're also going to use some cool vintage 30-06 armor piercing stuff that Bob brought up. This is World War II vintage from 1944. Bob's going to be blasting that through his M1 Garand. That's super awesome. And we also have some 7.62 by 39 We're going to shoot this through a 7.62 by 39 AK. This is steel core ammo. I've seen this personally in the past go through very, very thick stuff like flywheels. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And we also have some steel core 7.62 by 54R that we're going to be shooting through the Mosin.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is where I think we're going to start doing some damage, and this is where you want us to know, do what we do. So we're going to go do what we do and shoot stuff.
Let's go make some holes.
All right. All right, so we're trying the Green Trip 5.56 62 grain penetrator.
Ooh.
I saw a spark.
Yes, I did. Send another one, Mark. Big time. Look at that. Penetrator didn't do a whole lot to it.
It's got a little bit of just a surface damage and a smear. Just a little dent. Not a divot, not a crater, but it does have a little divot there.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a bit more than that, actually.
Me too. What are you shooting, Bob?
Shooting the M44 Mosin Nagant. We've got some 148 grain full metal jackets that do attract magnets. So let's see what this will do to it.
Makes a big fireball, I know that.
It's kind of fun. I'm going to do it again.
Well, yeah.
Alright, let's go take a peek. Alright, just fired the Mosin Nagant with the 148 grain steel core bullet. Small, little tiny divots, not as much as the penetrator rounds. Here and there. I think that's where it was hit.
Oh, wow.
So just tiny, tiny little craters, but so far the penetrator, I think he's put the most damage on it, but still highly acceptable.
So I'm shooting the 7.62 by 39 AR-15, running steel core ammo through it.
Jeez.
I think it needs a shorter chain, Bob.
Put Sasquatch on that. Alright, see what we did. Alright, so we just got done shooting it with the 7.62 by 39. And there. The one at the bottom.
Whatever it was, it didn't damage it. So far, I'm really impressed with these gongs. You know, most of the ammo that I would not shoot at mild steel has this gong has taken it with a plum. That steel cord 7.62 by 39 has killed a bunch of my steel gongs in the past. Bob's gonna be shooting the M1 Garand with a steel cased ammo that was attracted to a magnet right here. It's not armor piercing, but it did have a bullet that was attracted to a magnet, so we're gonna shoot that.
All right, ready?
Yeah. I think I detected a spark.
I saw a spark.
It definitely left a bright spot. We can tell where you hit.
All right, so this was steel core 30-06. Right there. It's a minimal divot. But, you know, looking at that, really isn't a whole lot.
What you gonna shoot now, Bob?
We're going to try some of this vintage 1940s armor piercing. You know, if this doesn't do it, I really don't know what will, other than, you know, like going to a Magnum velocity. So, let's give this one a shot.
Wow, big sparks. Big sparks on that.
You know what? That was kind of fun.
You can do it again?
I'm gonna do it again.
You just like it because that gong's captive and it's not moving and you want to put the kill shot on it.
That's right. See if I can knock it over. Extra sparks. Let's check it out.
All right.
Oh, we have damage. Sasquatch, get away! That is that's a little bit of damage right there. That would deem this unsafe to shoot. And that one, another strike right there. So, armor piercing 30-06 did not go all the way through. I thought it would, but it definitely left a heck of an impact mark on it. That's almost all the way through.
Let's look at the backside.
Oh, look at that. We almost did it.
Cracked it. All right, now we're gonna shoot Bad Medicine. This is my primary hunting weapon. It's 300 Winchester Magnum. We're shooting factory 180 grain bullets. I've killed 15 or so elk with this and a bear. Quite a few deer. Let's see if we can kill a gong. Let's shoot it again since I got Bad Medicine smoking and I got my rhythm.
And that's how you knock over a gong by mountain style.
Well, I think I got a little divot. I got muddy fingers, Bob, but the 300 mag did put a divot in the bottom of it that you could feel with your finger. I'm not sure which other one that was. But if this was at 100 yards, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't have a problem. You know, we're way short. We are at 20 yards. I wouldn't have a problem using this gong for a 300 mag. That little bit of damage, if we were that far away, is going to be really minimal on generating splash, and the gong would last a very long time.
I wouldn't recommend shooting AP at it.
That's true. That's a little bit of incredible right there.
All right.
All right, folks, so we're testing a theory. Bob thinks, and I probably agree, we'll find out, but he thinks that the swinging of the gong absorbs some of the energy. So we've left the gong wound up to minimize movement, and Bob's going to whack it with the armor piercing 30-06 from a M1 Garand, or Garand, or whoever you want to say it.
All right, here we go. Jeez.
Oh, I see light, Bob. I see light. I can see daylight.
There we have a hole right through the middle. So I think eliminating some of that sway took its toll.
Oh. 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 We had success. You know, we set out to try and find out what would penetrate, and we actually did.
I'm kind of excited about that, and at the same time I am disappointed. I really didn't want to have to destroy something that is nice as this AR500 gong. But now we have got the testing out of the way, so if you are a potential customer of Steel Horse Customs, you'll know what not to throw at your gong.
That's right. Hey, and I do have to say that Matt gave me this this really nice square gong to test. We already had this one set up, and this one's going to live forever up on the FMO range at the long range shot. So we're going to use that. We destroyed this other one, and we successfully put a hole in it. So let's just go through the weapons that we used.
Yep.
First, Bob, we had the lever action 44 Magnum.
You know, and we can safely say that if you're using a 44 Magnum saddle gun like this or any other, you're going to be perfectly safe to use it on an AR500 gong.
That's right. All the pistol rounds, anything you can think of in a pistol round is going to be good. Next, we used, this was fun. This 4570, you know, I've shot some elk with it, and it is a boomer. This is, as you see, there was some wild drama and a lot of energy with a 405 grain bullet sent this gong a spinning.
You know, all the memories I'm going to take away from today, and yes, there will be memories. The thing I'm going to think of when we're doing this testing is when you hit this with that rifle,
whoop, whoop,
and
whoop,
it just spun that thing around like it was nothing.
It was just like a kid, like you always wanted to do on the swing. To actually go over center and do the deal and wrap up. That was so awesome. I love that.
It's a ton of energy. These are heavy. These are heavy plates. I mean, to whack that like you did with the 405 grain bullet,
but
impressive.
It didn't even put a modicum of a dent or a dot or any kind of a damage.
No.
We started to move into the weapons that would possibly do something to it, and we skipped regular 7.6 or 5.56 lead core standard stuff. We went right to the penetrators, and the penetrators just put a mild divot in it.
You know, I was actually pretty disappointed in what this actually achieved. I was kind of thinking that we were going to get some nice little just 22 caliber holes Swiss cheesing right through this, but you know, I would be perfectly comfortable shooting a 5.56 penetrator at this all day long.
That's right. I was expecting more from the 7.62 by 39 steel core. That stuff I've seen punch, like I said before, through some very heavy steel flywheels and such. It didn't barely put a scar on it. That's right. So any AK is good to go. You can shoot that all day long. And the same class, so that would include your 300 blackout rounds or your 30-30s. All of the weapons in that speed and velocity, shoot them all day long and you won't hurt it or put any kind of a dent in it. Next, we had Sasquatch's rifle, the M44, and we used some steel core ammo on it.
We did. And again, this is something that you can safely use on your gong, and you're not going to have any sort of issue on it.
Next, we tried Bad Medicine. This is my primary hunting weapon. This is 300 Winchester Magnum, and this is the game getter. This is what feeds my family, and it's put down a lot of elk, but it didn't do a lot of damage to this gong.
Like the 4570, though, it did put a heck of a swing on it, and we got some pretty impressive sparks off of that round. I was actually pretty surprised when this finally quit swinging and we got a good look at it. It didn't penetrate it, and it didn't really do much of anything at all. You know, we got a couple small little divots, but nothing that I would consider detrimental to the safety of using this gong on it. And
you know, folks, we did shoot at close range. This was only at about 20 yards. So if you were setting this up for a rifle gong on your range at 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, I wouldn't have a problem using my money to buy this gong and then shoot it all day long with a 300 Winchester Magnum.
I concur.
And last but not least, this is the weapon that has kept the West safe. This is the greatest generation's firearm right here, Bob, and this is a fine example. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what it did to the gong? This is a M1 Garand. How do you say it? Garand or Garand?
Garand is the proper terminology, but it's been used or coined Garand so often that that's actually considered proper as well. But Garand, like errand, is the proper way to say his name. Had 3 different types of bullets to try to use for this today. We started with like a lead-tipped hunting round. I do have an adjustable gas plug in this, so it's perfectly safe to use that. Normally you cannot shoot that type of round through an M1.
Oh, okay.
Because of the bullet weight and the way that the recoil operating rods work. So anyway, from there we went to steel core, your regular run-of-the-mill Lake City surplus ammunition, and it didn't do a whole lot to it. We did see some fine marks in it, but it wasn't really anything more than what we were seeing out of any other caliber.
I was actually surprised to see that old .6 ammo was steel core. Really,
Yeah.
We tested all this stuff with a magnet, and I didn't know that old surplus stuff was steel core.
There are a lot of rifle ranges and stuff, especially in California. If your bullet does attract a magnet, you're not allowed to shoot that round on the range. And so that's definitely one that would qualify for that. But last but not least, we had some vintage 1944 armor piercing rounds. And we had some verdigris on them and some, they were pretty dirty, but we cleaned them up and they all went bang. And that's what ended up putting an end to this Gong's life, unfortunately. But up until that point, I wasn't even really sure if the armor piercing was going to do it. The Penetrator certainly didn't do it.
Right. And the velocity from the Penetrator, I would think, would exceed the .6.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the energy that it had to drive that through, I don't know if if it's got a tungsten core in it or what there is, if it's just a steel core. I suspect that it's tungsten because we do have there is a chunk of something that's still embedded in the next to the last shot that we did before it actually pierced.
Yeah, and that particular round almost went all the way through, and we do have some bulging on the back, a little bit of a crack where that particular round didn't quite go through. I think with the length of chain, as what you guys were seeing as we were watching this video, that this chain was actually absorbing quite a bit of the impact and taken away from that. Only was it when we had this thing fully wrapped up is when that bullet actually went all the way through. But
yep. One thing that I do want to point out, folks, you'll witness in a lot of the shooting that we did, there was a lot of sparks that emitted. And it wasn't just from the steel core. It was also with the lead jacket hunting ammo. So if you're going to be shooting steel, you don't want to be doing it during a fire danger season because there's a definite hazard of ignition there. So keep that in mind.
Especially that last round. I don't know if it was the actual steel that came out of the back or what it was, but we had a real nice glowing piece of hot lead fly out into the field. And if it would have been hot outside or dry, I mean, I have no doubt that would have started a fire.
Yep.
So definitely something to keep in the back of your mind.
So we went through what you can shoot your AR500 gun with safely without destroying it. And it was a great video for us.
Had a lot of fun. Thank you, Matt, over at Steel Horse Customs.
Yep. And as always, hey, click over here. Let's see, we'll put the button right here. And like and subscribe. And go over to Steel Horse Customs. We're going to put the URL right here. And as always, thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.